Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Tuesday, the 8th of December. Reading in Luke's Gospel, chapter 22, nearing the end of Jesus' life. The chapter starts, "Now the festival of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12, and Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when there was no crowd present." And every time I read that, I wonder what was going on in Judas's mind. And it's sort of convenient to imagine, if Satan attempted him, he just went into a trance and did what he wouldn't have. But in actual fact, I think for him it was a rational decision. As my one son says, when you ask him something, he says, "Why did you do that?" "Because of reasons." And I'm sure that if he had confronted Judas, he would have said he did it because of reasons. And at the time, they probably made sense to him. They were probably entirely logical, consistent, and his mind would have shaped them as good and a noble thing and the right thing to do. But they weren't. And to me, that's a real challenge in what motivates us. How do we decide what we're doing? And our minds are fallen and they're sinful. And well, certainly I am so easy, so quick to make excuses, to come up with all sorts of good reasons why I will do something that I probably oughtn't to do. And I'm sure that is what Judas did. And that's what I do time and again. And the real challenge is to step back and turn back to the scriptures, the plain reading of scripture, and say, what does the Bible say? And so many things that we can try and justify when you read the scripture, and it talks about being loving, being kind, being compassionate, being generous, all of those things. 90% of the time, or if you measure against scripture, the reasons I come up with certainly fall down time and again. And so we really need to pray, God, guide us by your word, that our decisions will be informed not by what we think is a good idea, not by what, humanly speaking, makes sense, but by what your word says. So be challenged by that and be blessed.